Hey everyone, welcome back to our second episode of Campfire Talk with Florida Engineering. I am joined with our civil division today. Joanna and George. Joanna, how are you guys doing today?
Awesome. Doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I do want everyone to know kind of what's your position, what do you do here, your responsibilities, what does that look like?
My title is Civil Project Director, and I do like final reviews of septic system, site plans, that type of thing, to make sure the design is compliant with code, statute, that it's not going to get a rejection from builder or Department of Health who reviews it, that type of thing. I ensure the compliance goes through without any too much kickback, that type of thing.
Less revisions, the better.
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly.
Completely get it. George, what do you do?
I'm the project manager for the civil department.
Okay.
I manage the projects going through the department, from the Linda to the designers to the drafters, and then finally back to Joanna. I also take care of all the kickbacks from the building department. We call them rejections from the building department or corrections, and the builders, customers, revisions.
Okay, keen of efficiency then.
Yes.
All right, excellent. Perfect. Well, I wanted to ask a few questions today, just kind of get a full rundown on everything that's going with site planning, with setbacks, with everything I can essentially think of when it comes to the civil side of Florida engineering. I mean, you brought up codes. Is code something that change on a year-to-year basis, or is it every 5 years? And then, do you have a system that notifies you, hey, there's an upcoming changes in codes, you should probably take a look at it and go from there? How's that work?
The Florida building code gets updated every 3 years.
Right.
The local statutes, they don't change as often. So it's just keeping in touch with the builders and the contractors as to what changes that are coming down the pipe.
How many projects would you say both of you work on each week, roughly? Yeah.
Sometimes it's 50 a day.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 50 a week, depending on whether it's a revision, a correction, or a review. It literally is up and down, but we're always busy.
So, yeah, I am in the office with them. I do see them working all the time. So, yeah, they're definitely busy every time I walk out. So I've been out in the field with a few of the field guys, Sean and Matt, both awesome gentlemen. Watch them do the surveying that they're doing. What else do those two do?
They do, well, their field work part of it, like with Sean and Ian, they're our site evaluators. They go out and do the soil borings. They take elevations. They ensure that the area, the topography, and everything like that will be suitable for a septic system design.
Okay.
Max, on the other hand, he does that as well as private inspections for us. He'll do rough inspections, initial inspections, and final inspections.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's got his hands full. So, of course, you and I, we sat down and kind of talked about some things to talk about, because I am by no means wearing your shoes. I have no idea much of that side of it. I go and I take photos. We did talk about enhanced nutrient reducing on-site sewage treatment and disposal systems, or the ENR/OS TDS. How do they differ, though, from a normal septic system that I have on my house at home?
Well, one of the things that DEP did during this transfer over from DOH to DEP, even though DOH still handles the regulatory part of it, the reviews and that type of thing, DEP is very in the forefront of making sure that water quality is better than it ever was, because there has been a big degradation in water quality standards. Impacted areas they've identified, and in doing so, they've been able to come up with solutions and or systems, innovative systems for septic that reduce nitrogen.
On a traditional septic system, you'd have the septic tank leading into the distribution box in the leaching field. That's where your high levels of nitrogen would seep into the ground and cause nitrogen plumes. With switching over to a nitrogen reducing system, you have an extra layer of filtration which can reduce nitrogen plume by over 70% in some cases.
Nitrogen is the main thing that they want to get reduced because it's something that pollutes the water table if there's too much of it. And it's not to say that septic systems are the only contributor to nitrogen-rich waters. There's all kinds of other factors, fertilizers and runoff, and that. And even there's all kinds of other factors. But what they've done is they have identified impacted waterways. And in those areas, if you're going to build a septic system now, or if you're going to have a house that has a septic system, it has to be a nitrogen-reducing septic system.
Okay. I did not know that.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense, especially with, here where we're at in Southwest Florida, red tide is a huge concern. I mean, you've got, all the fertilizer running into Okeechobee, which leads into the Caloosahatchee, causes nitrogen bloom of this red tide. That would sounds like a really good step forward when it comes to environmental benefits and moving towards that, especially with how big the infrastructure is becoming here in Florida.
It is. It really is. And they've done a good job in introducing these systems without overwhelming the common consumer, the homeowner that wants to build on a lot. All of a sudden realizes, I have to put in this nitrogen-reducing system. Oh my gosh, I can't afford it. But they've developed grant programs that you can get assistance from if necessary. But eventually their main goal by, I think, 2030, maybe 2025, is that all the identified impacted areas are required, regardless of lot size, to have this kind of system.
So is this something that, I'm sure with all these grants and possible tax incentive, are they requiring essentially any house that's been built here in Florida is going to have to switch over to this nitrogen reducing system, or is there a time frame? How
they'll do that is, for example, like right now, if there is sewer available and you're on a septic system, if your septic system fails, we're not going to repair the system. You're going to have to connect.
Okay.
So it's kind of along the same lines. If you do any kind of addition or renovation to your home that requires septic approval, or if your septic system is in failure and it needs repair, that's when they'll get you, so to speak.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. The BMAP, the Basin Management Action Plan. I, of course, have notes. These are acronyms I'm not familiar with. But the Basin Management Action Plan, how does that influence your work when it comes to designing these systems?
Like I had said before, DEP has identified the impacted areas, and they've come up impacted areas in the state where advanced systems that reduce nitrogen are required instead of conventional systems. Where water bodies don't meet water quality standards, they have these BMAP areas, Basin Management Action Plans. And it's important to know what areas in Florida are affected because we design systems that fall within this plan.
Okay.
And they have a GIS website that's set up where you can literally just punch in an address and see if you're going to be...
If it has to be built in
Yes.
that Basin plan. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And we work in a lot of different counties, so it covers a broad area for us.
Does each county, when it comes to public health, right, the local county health departments, does each county have different types of regulations you have to abide by, or is it generalized across the state of Florida?
The code is standardized across the state of Florida.
Okay.
How the individual counties interpret the code is varied. So we can design a plan that will pass in Charlotte County, but in Brevard County, they need some extra information, extra plans.
Yeah, that makes sense. So even if you could over-engineer a system, it passes all flying colors, but even in Brevard County, it wouldn't, even though it's completely over-engineered for here.
Right.
So would you consider that a challenge, something that you've ran into where you've developed a system, you thought it would be over-engineered, and then the county said, no, let's go ahead and go back to this and redo it, or how's that work?
Yeah. Yes, we've done that. We've had a standard system for us, passing most counties, and then this other county will come back and say, no, you got to do it this way.
Okay.
And with Joanna's experience, we've come back and gone to Tallahassee and said, they're interpreting this way. How do we interpret it? And she's fought a couple battles and won, and made the county see it that they don't have to do it that way. You're going over and above.
Good job. All right, excellent. So could you describe the process of the site evaluation when it comes to new residential developments?
Sure. For FE, when we get a job from a builder, one of our builders, we require a topo survey
Topographical survey, yes.
with elevations. And Belinda does like the preliminary paperwork where we've got a copy of the survey, copy of the property appraiser information, a copy of the map. Our site evaluators then go out and they take elevations. They base them off of the elevations that are on the survey. And some counties have to be, or are assumed, and some have to be in NAVIT 88. But they'll go out and shoot their elevations in the proposed area where the drain field is going to go, or the septic system is going to go. They have to do 2 soil borings to either 6 feet or refusal. They have to identify adjacent properties, and that's a big one. That's a really big one right now because the building has gotten so big and so busy. It's very important to make sure we identify surrounding properties and their wells, their septic systems, to make sure that our lot is going to meet the setbacks by the code, by the statute, that type of thing. We don't want to have to go to a variance because we missed a well that was only 50 feet away.
No, that makes sense. I mean, places like Cape Coral, for example, I'm sure you run into that all the time where I being there, I run into the situation of, okay, you've got all these neighbors that are built up on these roads and their well's there, but their septic's here. Have you ran into situations where, because of the design of how, for example, a city like that's done, it's almost impossible to fit a septic system on it because it's too close to somebody else's well or too close to somebody else's septic?
In Lee County, they've actually, parts of Lee County, like Cape Coral, the city of Cape Coral has been very good in their, I don't know what you would call it, in their
Infrastructure development?
Yes, that's a good way. You're not going to find a septic system in the back and a well in the front in Cape Coral. The system is always going to be in the front and the well's going to be in the back. So it makes it easy for us to be able to fit a system without complications. Where it comes difficult is when there are no regulations regarding placement. Lehigh is one of them. Older subdivisions that you don't even see a well because it's buried. You don't know where their septic system is because it's subsurface, built in the 70s or even earlier. So the challenge is there. You can almost make a lot unbuildable if somebody starts on one end one way and somebody starts on the other end the other way. By the time you get to the middle and get it built out, this guy's going, I can't put a septic system here.
So if you're smart enough, you can really assure you're not going to have any neighbors.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
Oh, good to know.
That's correct.
Here I come, Lehigh. Let's see. So could you share a success story that you ran into where you thought maybe I wouldn't have been able to get this accomplished until I found this? I mean, you've already mentioned that she's gone to fight battles to make them realize, oh no, this will work. Do you have a similar story?
Well, my experience with government and specifically in septic system design and inspections and regulations and that type of thing, I've got a lot of great contacts. If there's any type of pushback from a builder or even an installer for that matter, or another county health department, I know exactly who to contact. If I know what they're saying is not quite right, that what I am saying or how I am interpreting the code is how Tallahassee interprets the code. So I have that advantage because I've got the experience and the contacts and the resources behind me. So it's nice to be able to say, yeah, that's not how DEP looks at it. This is the part of the code that you need to interpret this way. And some of them, again, push back, and then I go to, my source in Tallahassee, and to the point where they've had to contact that county health department and say, hey, she's right. you're wrong. You can't make them do this. So that's gratifying in its own sense because
Sticking it to the man.
because being on the private end of the spectrum now, I understand the frustrations that Effie and George and Xavier and everybody else gets from county health departments, especially. And I'm sometimes just amazed that they're going. I'm just really, they're rejecting it for that. So, but
Do you see? You've talked about how older developments, they didn't really have a code to abide by. I'm sure if we were doing a Campfire Talk back then, I'd ask this question: what future civil changes do you see when it comes to the engineering, environmental sustainability, regulatory compliance? Do you see any major changes coming up the pipeline here soon? Maybe over the next 10 years even?
The biggest one is the BMAP.
Yeah.
And like she said, they're going to convert pretty much everywhere. Eventually, it's going to be on a nitrogen reducing system. That's the only one I can really think of that's coming down the pipe.
Okay.
when you had talked about success stories as well as challenges, one of the things that we design systems for are the outer islands like Little Gasparilla Island.
Oh, okay. Sanibel, Captiva, those areas.
Yeah, and it can be very challenging in order to design basically a mansion on a molehill. And you'd like to think the people that are building out there are environmentally conscious. They're right on the water, they're right, in the coastal construction line. But no, they just want to go as big as they can. So the alternative or the solution is we design a system, a specialty system, a performance-based treatment system that allows reductions, whether it be surface water reductions, drain field reductions, authorized sewage flow increases, that type of thing. We want to ensure that we're designing a system, no matter how big the house is, that's going to be to code. And it's satisfying to be able to work with the builder, work with the homeowner in educating them, because education is just huge regarding why we do things, especially with the septic systems. And open communication and having that good working relationship with builder, contractor, engineer, whoever you're dealing with.
It makes it go a lot further when you have an engineer that you can easily talk to. The contractor feels better about it. Homeowner feels better about it because the contractor actually knows what they can say because they've spoken to the engineer. It makes the process a lot smoother. I completely agree. I've been a contractor before and dealt with engineers, and it's been hit or miss. I know Florida Engineering, last company I was with, we did do business with them. So glad to be here, though, on this side of the room. I'll say that. Well, thank you so much for joining the Campfire Talk with our Civil Division. Joanna, George, I appreciate your time. Stay tuned for our next episode with the Civil Division, where we'll go into a little bit more detail on different parts of the industry, where things are going, and all of that. So if you have any questions, or if you have any questions for George or Joanna, you can leave them down in the comments below, or you can email us at contact@fleng.com. That's contact@fleng.com. It's been a day. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.